I'm not there yet.
When you told me, I told you. So I'm still thinking it's going to be one.
Yeah. Retirement.
Yeah, hopefully, I see.
City attorney.
Well, if it was a hedge of a roof or something, or maybe a cover up higher.
That's my fault.
Councilman Evans,
I just really.
would you mind doing our invocation in the next couple of minutes when we get
I
past?
sure will. You want me to pledge allegiance, you mean, part? Invitation, oh, the invitation. Okay. I'll hold it. Yes, sir.
Thank you very much.
Uh-huh.
Switch it up a little bit. If you want to do the invocation, you want to lead us in the pledge this time? Councilman.
If I can remember.
It starts with I.
All you have to do is say, I pledge.
Just say I, Terry.
Take off.
Sorry, I think I got that.
Just gonna get down on your knee.
Tyler, you also? All right, good afternoon or good evening, everyone. Welcome to our city council meeting tonight, January 13th, 2025. We will begin with our invocation by Councilman Roger Evans. Please stand.
Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you for this another evening we've had. Thank you for each and every one here, and for Diane to get a chance to come back with us after her surgery. Thank you for all that you've done for us. Lord, let us work together. Let's try to get Oak Hill the best we possibly can. It's not for us, Lord, it's for the city. We want it back to be a family-friendly town. And we thank you and praise you in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands,
One nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, folks. We have a little tab here. We will now have our roll call. We will ask our clerk to please call the roll. All right, thank you. Welcome aboard, by the way.
Thank you. Counselors, Mayor Charles Briscoe.
Here.
Counselor at Large Bill Hannibas.
Here.
Counselors from Ward 1, Terry Van Buskirk.
here.
Roger Evans.
Here.
Diana Janey. Here. Forget your last name. Okay. Counselors from Ward 2, Tim Buskus.
Here.
TJ Elder.
Here.
Chris Gill. Four with one absence. He was second.
I wasn't on time. All right. All right, you all have read the minutes. If we could get a vote to approve those. Or a motion, rather. Okay. At this point, do you want to go over the minutes?
I move to accept the minutes as presented.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the minutes as presented. All those in favor? All opposed? Motion is carried. The approval of minutes has been adopted. And our treasurer's report. Can we have a motion for the treasurer's report to be accepted?
Point of order, Mayor.
Yes, sir.
On December the 20th to me, that you sent an email to council saying that you want to transfer 250,000 into that account. Is that reflected on the general fund balance sheet? So that number is correct. What's the, okay.
Mhm. We have a motion to accept that report.
My motion is second the report, treasury report.
Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second to accept the treasurer's report. All those in favor say aye. All opposed?
Aye.
Both of them? I'm sorry. Okay. We have 2 nay and we have 4. So the ayes have it. Motion is adopted.
You voted no.
You did, and Was it Jerry? He was. Do we have any correspondence? All right. Well, it's now open up for citizens' comments, and I see we have no citizens. I'm back. Are you filling in the seats? Would you? Just checking with you. All right. Any unfinished business? Okay, no unfinished business. Then we'll move into the public hearing on amending Article 10(2) of the Charter, residency requirements for city manager. Any council comments about that?
Yeah, I looked at the charter section too. And I think since there's been an objection that, I'm in favor of not pursuing it. However, I think there's a problem with the wording of the charter where it doesn't make a provision for a city manager that may not live in Oak Hill time of application, time of interview. And there's not a provision to say, that you will in a reasonable time, 180 days or 90 days or whatever, you will have to reside in Oak Hill by that time. We're going to hire you right now because, logically, nobody's going to move to Oak Hill to apply to be city manager. And Beckley just went through this, and I know it at first glance, it sounds very reasonable to require a city manager to live within the municipal boundary, but I look at the fact that when that time comes, is there housing available for someone to purchase in Oak Hill? Is there an excellent candidate that maybe lives on the outskirts of Oak Hill that has lived in a home there for 25 years or has a farm and horses and cattle or whatever? I think there's a lot of valid reasons why a city manager may not desire to live in Oak Hill. And I can tell you from experience, it's not a benefit for a city manager to do the job better because he lives in Oak Hill. There's, some of us live on the outskirts of Oak Hill, and the neighbor across the street might be out of the city limits, and it doesn't detract from that. And the example I use is recently retired David Kirk was the public works director of the city of Oak Hill. And I hope he's listening, because I will say that no one could dream of a better public works director. Mr. Kirk did not live in the city of Oak Hill, but I guarantee you that he was here if something was going on at 2 a.m. or whenever. It's not, and it's different than us as members of council. You have to be a qualified voter to be an elected official in the municipality. I agree with that. I wouldn't want anybody sitting here not being a resident of the city of Oak Hill. It's elected. It's common sense. But the city manager is an employee of the city, and I think it's overboard to require. Of course, that's water under the bridge since we have an objection. But I do want to point out the problem it could pose. That I have no idea who's going to be applying for the job. But if they live outside the city limits, our charter currently doesn't have any wiggle room even to make a provision that, that within 90 days or whatever seems reasonable, that they would move into the city of Oak Hill. And I think that's a mistake.
Is there some way to change the language or change the charter? What do we got to do?
Well, there's an objection to that. And And I think you stated that it was a disservice to the citizens of Oak Hill, and like I say, I can say it with experience, it's not a disservice to the residents of Oak Hill. And I don't mean to put our city attorney on the spot, but you all just recently went through this in Beckley. When it was deemed that the city manager of Beckley had to reside in the city limits, was there a provision with a certain amount of time specified for an incoming city manager if they didn't already reside?
Yes, our situation is a little different because it's not controlled by the charter where the city manager lives. But we did make a requirement that the city manager would have to live in the city limits within a year after being hired.
Okay.
And I don't know if you're asking this or not, but I will throw in 2 cents worth. In hindsight, I'm not sure that that was the best move to require the city manager to live in city limits. We also have a housing shortage in Beckley. Certainly, if you're moving a big family in, you have to have a certain size house. It's all based on the personal needs. By doing this, we have eliminated, I'm sure, some candidates that may have been very viable candidates for the position because they live outside of the city, not far outside of it. Live within the county. We've got a very nice district there that would have been ideal for some candidates. That's the way it's going. That's outside of the city. And Canada right now, they're all required to live within the city limits within you.
Yes. I think the disservice to the residents of Oak Hill is limiting limiting potential good candidates for city manager. I think that's the disservice.
Mr. Pyle, I ask a question pertaining to that too. Well, we know that we have to vote the charter amendment down because it was opposed. Once that's voted down, can we make another recommendation to where it does not apply that the person has to live here when they apply, but it does, as Beckley did, within that 1 year time limit? And can we put a mileage of the circumference, like say a mile or 2 outside city limits? Could we do something like that?
I'm not sure I understand when you say you have to vote it down, and that's because somebody opposed the proposed amendment. Because the other alternative is to have an election.
Yes.
Comes with this expense. I understand why some cities don't go that election. Yeah, you can propose whatever amendment.
After this one's voted down,
It has to be a different, yes,
it'd have to be a different.
You still have to go through the same process to have,
Yes.
has to be advertised, you have to have a public hearing.
That's what you're saying.
Mhm.
You cannot put the same.
We can't change the wording of what we've already done. We have to vote on this one. Since it's been objected, we have to vote it down. But then we can bring back another rephrasing, right? It starts all over again.
Yes, starts over. So long as you're looking for different.
Yes.
Provisions.
Yes. That's what I was wanting to find out.
Also, if another procedure can be taken, you can table it and then move to the end. Do an amendment before it comes back. But so once somebody, yes, since somebody has filed an objection, that still would get rid of the question.
Okay.
Unless that individual does have the right to withdraw its objection.
All right, would anyone like to make a motion to abandon that proposed amendment?
Make a motion that we abandon that proposal.
Can we have a second?
I'll second.
All right, all those that are in favor, say aye. All those opposed? Motion carries. Moving to number 2, lifting the sunset date and make other revisions to the recreational trail vehicles ordinance. OHMC 10.12-2, I'm sorry, 10-12. This is the second reading.
Mayor, I spoke with the city manager since last meeting, and she received. I haven't spoken with Mr. Fowle about it, but she spoke with Mr. Fowle. The reason we're doing this is the main reason we're doing this is to remove the sunset clause so that the ordinance is not automatically repealed. And also, Chief Wiseman recommended to add 2, which we did, to eliminate the requirement to have a helmet because it's not in state law. Another item that's not in state law is the provision of the legal hours of operation for a recreational trail vehicle is from dawn to dusk. And I would propose that for licensed ATVs or recreational trail vehicles that are licensed and registered with the state of West Virginia or the respective state that the owner resides in, that they not be limited to the dusk to dawn or dawn to dusk. And being the major component of the first reading being the amending to take away the sunset clause or the automatic repeal of the ordinance, that this is would be a minor change if you all feel comfortable with it. And I'll refer that to any other comments to me and the city attorney when you all had a conversation about that.
You can see what we added under the permitted hours, sunrise to sunset. There are no restrictions if the vehicle is licensed and registered with West Virginia Department of Motor Vehicles or the state in which the owner resides.
And that also requires, it's you don't have to write it down, but it also, that requires insurance on the vehicle to license the vehicle. And they have a regular license plate and several other stipulations to be deemed street legal.
Do you not need to add insurance and inspection to that?
It comes automatic with the licensing and
Registration.
Okay.
registration of the vehicle.
Saturday night, there was somebody on the floor wheel racing around.
I'm sorry.
There was. So, but I mean, it lasted about 10-15 minutes, but it was like 11:30, 12 o'clock at night. So
Well,
when you call somebody, they're already gone.
right. Well, a couple things about it. They were already breaking the law. And I couldn't guess how many, but there are very few licensed recreational trail vehicles within the city of Oak Hill. I can't put a number on it. I have knowledge of that, but I don't see very many of them that are licensed. And if you're going to go to the expense of licensing that vehicle and insuring it and all those requirements, it stands to reason they're a fairly responsible person. So just to get it on the table, I'll move to, proceed with the second reading to lift the sunset date for the automatic repeal and the two other revisions that would include, operation between or after dusk until dawn for, licensed vehicles and to lift the requirement for a helmet.
May we have a second?
I'll second that.
All right, we have a motion and a second to lift the sunset date and the other revisions to the recreational trail vehicles ordinance. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Number 3 will be the second reading and adoption of the camping ordinance.
This is an ordinance that Lieutenant Pike presented to us last month. Just not so that there will be no camping allowed on public property. It outlines has all the definitions and restrictions.
I'll make the motion, Mayor.
All right, we have a motion.
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second. Second reading and adoption of camping ordinance. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed? Motion is carried. Thank you very much. Number 4, we have a building commission update on the BB&T building.
Okay, so the Realtor has now the sign up, a for sale sign up. It's still temporary, but it is, she's having a larger one being made. And she's had pictures with a drone that has outdoor pictures. You've seen, maybe seen some of that on, I think it was on Zillow or one of those websites. So she has that up and she took some inside pictures. So she'll be having some inside pictures also. She's had an investor, the contractor for an investor, look at that property and that he seems like that that's going to work out pretty good for what they have in mind. And also, the actual investor will be coming in, I think this week. He will be visiting and looking at the bank. And she has another broker out of Charleston that works with her commercial listings, and they have information on it and they're pitching it to other people too. So it's going pretty good so far. I mean, at least we have a little bit.
Thank you very much. I don't think we'll need to vote on accepting that. Unless you just want to. New business. Number 5, considering amending Oak Hill Municipal Code 10.04.010F, restricted areas for skateboards, inline skates, rollerblades, and bicycles.
This is to change the part of the code that eliminated skateboards from the city park. So since we now have a change that, so you can see the things that we have eliminated, and then the new down below it that has, it just tells where you can have a skateboard and that you can't be reckless, negligent, endangering others. You have to give the right of way to pedestrians if you're on the sidewalk path. And also, Josh and I talked about this, and it is not, we do not want skateboards. So we really don't want the skateboards in the park except for the skateboard park. So we'd rather not have them on the sidewalks around the park or when we get the path, the trail around it. Because that's where, that's the park, especially during ball season, it's crowded. People are walking back and forth and it would be another hazard to have that. That's under the restricted areas that they can ride about. That this next one also talks about skates and rollerblades and bicycles. So they're prohibited: bicycle, e-bike, skateboard, roller skates, roller skates, rollerblades, inline skates, motorized scooter, all that, or anything similar to operate such a device in any public park, playground, or designated public park sidewalk, except where otherwise permitted. So within the skate park. So that kind of keeps all of that bicycles and people from just riding around when there's a bunch of people there. Yes, they can be on the rail trail.
Signage for that?
Yeah. There'll be signage. And then, so one more part. Oh, no, that's all there is. Okay.
That motion that we consider amending that.
We have a second.
I second it.
We have a motion and a second to consider amending the OH 10-04-010F restricted areas for skateboards, inline skates, rollerblades, and bicycles. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? That motion is carried. Thank you. Give me just a second, guys. Change now. Bill?
Mayor, the city attorney advised on the item the previous item that deals with the, I'm looking for it. Second, let's see, item number 2, lifting the sunset date and make other revisions. And the city manager advises that we actually take 2 votes, that we take 1 vote the way it was, and then 1 vote on adding the dusk to dawn stipulation.
The first vote should probably actually be on the amendment. And then you vote. So.
That does make sense.
Okay.
Would we need to go back and okay. All right, so can we get a motion to just do the amendment on the first vote?
I'll make a motion to accept the amendments to the lifting the sunset date on and the other rebuilding actions on the 10/12 and lifting the sunset date.
Do we have a
I
second?
think it's just supposed to be to add that amendment to the restrictions of the hours. Yeah, it's supposed to be just that very last one in number E. There are no restrictions in the vehicle.
So I just need to make a motion. There are no restrictions to the vehicle's license and registered.
To accept that amendment that wasn't included in the first.
make a motion that we accept that amendment.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
All right, we have a motion and a second to accept that amendment. All those in favor? All those opposed? Motion is carried. Amendment is accepted. We will need a second vote, right?
Yeah, you need now.
Accept the ordinance.
To approve the ordinance with the.
We have a vote on that.
I'll make a motion to accept the ordinance with the amendment.
May we have a second?
I'll second that.
All right, we have a motion and a second to accept the ordinance with amendments. All those in favor? All opposed? Thank you. Motion's carried. We're gonna move into number 6, that is adding 10-0140 to the municipal code concerning electric bikes.
This is something that Josh came to me with on the e-bikes. So he is, in this part, he's just explaining to council what the different classes are of the e-bikes, class 1, class 2, class 3. And then he's suggesting that we adopt the state code for e-bikes with some things that are particular to Oak Hill. So I think if you can move it, he has the whole code in here, the whole West Virginia code, which we would make our 10.01.04. And then he's saying that, you know, we only want class 1 e-bikes to single track multi-use trails within the city limits of its municipal parks. And, you know, but we do not want class 2 or 3 e-bikes within Needles Eye Park. And then it goes on to explain, because some of those are more like a motorcycle, so we really don't want those on our trails. And then class 1 and class 2 is permitted in the White Oak Rail Trail. And yeah, it has class 2, but not class 3. So class 3 is pretty much prohibited everywhere.
City manager, do you know if Mr. Sapio consulted with the West Virginia Land Trust or looked at the conservation easement to make sure that we're not going to violate the conservation easement on Needles Eye?
He did not mention that to me. He's sick or he would be here tonight.
Okay.
But he did not mention that.
Well, I'll make a motion to accept the recommendation from the Parks and Recreation concerning electronic bikes at Needles Eye. Is that the only place he addressed, I think? In the rail trail, that's right. I'll make that motion and I'll have a comment during discussion.
We have a second? It's one time we could table this one. We're gonna be riding for a while, so. We're gonna wait for Josh till we can get Josh here.
Well, we could, or we could, we'll have to have 2 readings of it anyway, so.
Well, if we can get a second. All right, we have a motion and a second. Consider adding 10-0140 to the municipal code concerning electronic bikes. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed.
And Demita, could you get with Mr. Sapio and have him contact the West Virginia Land Trust and research the conservation easement?
Thank you, guys. Moving on to the Virginia Street sidewalk update.
So in the packet, there's a letter from the state awarding us a grant to complete these sidewalks. And it's a total of $897,000. $717,000 will come, $717,600 will come from the state. And then our match is $179,400. So the engineer is working on completing the plans now, the design. We have to change up the power poles a little bit. We thought that we could get the power company to move those poles, but the state has to write a letter, and they said that they do not do that for sidewalk projects. So we're going to look at bump outs for those power poles, and I need to still talk to the engineer about that. But as soon as he gets that finished, then they think that we could get to bid either late spring or early summer. So it's getting closer, we hope.
Question. So it says that we had to give 179,000. Has that already been set aside?
That has not.
So that would come out of sales tax?
But it's one that you pay for as you go along. So we would pay the invoice, we send it into the state, and they give us back 80%.
Any other questions? Thank you. We will move to number 8. Fiscal year, is it? 2025 mid-year budget revision.
So sent this to you all in your SharePoint. And so for the revenues, I've amended gas and oil severance tax. That last year we got, for some reason, a lot more than we usually get. So we had budgeted receiving that again, and we only received 30,000. So I lowered that. Excess tax on utilities I predict 20,000 higher than we budgeted. Hotel occupancy tax, we are finally receiving hotel occupancy tax from the Airbnbs. So that has helped a lot in getting those and boosting up this income. The building permit fees, now we keep all of that, so we've already collected 20,000, so I raise that to 25,000. Our franchise fees up 20,000. The IRP 20,000. Private liquor club 2,000. Grants 75,000, and that is some of the federal government grants. That's money we get from HIDA overtime to officers in the drug task force. $3,000 contribution from other entities. That's people buying beaches. And then reducing miscellaneous revenue at 6,000. So that's a total of 174,000. We need to reappropriate. And so on the expenses, I raised the mayor's office $500 and city manager's office 64,100. And I made a change in this from what you all had the first time. But I put, an additional 90,000 in professional services. And that is for the branding, signage thing that we approved through Hubcap. So, and that's the money from the county commission. So that, that puts that up 64,100. And treasurer's office is 0, that all evened out there. City, no, nothing, city clerk's office, yes, 15,600 for city clerk. And that's just the extra insurance, mostly is the extra insurance. Gretchen's salary shows up in the treasurer's office, but her benefits show up in the city clerk's office since she has that dual position there. Custodial down 18,300 since Thelma has retired. She has agreed to come back a couple days a week and work, so that's what we're going to try to do for right now. Planning and zoning. Originally I had budgeted all of our zoning officers' salary to be in this category, but I didn't change it on payroll, so it didn't get there. So I lowered this and removed it. Now it's now removed from the city manager's budget and put in planning and zoning. And so I have increased this 30,200, and that 60,000 is for the comp plan. I added that. That's a change from what you saw originally. City Hall down a total of 20,000. Police Department down 32,500. Most of that is in salaries and benefits, due to them having one officer that's been off the whole year, I guess. Shannon has been off, and he was his salary was budgeted, and they're also down one officer. So that's 32,500. Streets and highways. This is another change from, oh no, it's not in this department, sorry. Streets and highways, there's no change to. I just shifted around the salaries to overtime. Because they're, as you can see, they've almost already used their overtime budget. And part of that reduction comes from having an employee in parks now. So, an employee from from street and put them in parks. There's actually 2 in parks now. So no change there. In parks, there's an increase of $95,341. And that's just the salaries. That's the salary for one more person. Overtime, retirement, and materials and supplies. We've been doing a lot of stuff. We've had to pay for stuff in City Park that did part of the grant, that was part of the grant, and Needles Eye. So that's that adjustment. $10,000 on the Visitors Bureau. That comes from the occupancy tax going up. Other contributions are up 3,000, and I think that I had not budgeted something. I had not budgeted maybe some of the, like the football and the baseball, and that we're given 500 to. I think I just left that out of the budget at the beginning. And there are changes in beautification, but capital projects, the street department. I raised $26,059, and that is to cover the roof that was going to get done soon. We've been trying a year for that. So that brings the total increase in expenditures to $174,000, same as the increase in revenues.
I don't know if I understand where it says, so this, the one we just looked at is the expense revision. That's a total of $6,080,362. That's what our expenses total cost is, correct?
That's what we budgeted originally, yes.
And what's the difference from the first page of the revenue? So that's what we're receiving, the money we receive,
The,
the first one, the first.
that's what we budgeted to receive. And the difference is what we estimated our fund balance to be.
I just don't know if I understand. One is 6,080,000, and the other one is 5,476,000. I don't know if I understand that part.
So every year we have to redo our fund balance, which is what we have left. The difference between those two numbers is what our what we estimated our fund balance to be. And we did that in July.
So the 174, that's an increase of what we thought it was going to be.
Yes.
We have the revenue to cover that, correct?
To cover
The
$174,000.
additional expense.
Well, on paper, our cash flow hasn't quite caught up with all that yet.
I think if I'm going to say something out loud, it's going to be the concern of what happened to keep moving money. Because I know last February we took all of our rainy day fund and completed that for the general funding, and then we just had to move 250,000 more to cover general funding.
And I don't know if you remember when we did our budget, we had, and it's in this budget, that we were going to move 1.2 million from the sales tax. And that is on the revenues and contributions from other funds. It's down toward the bottom of the front page.
Oh, where it says 250,000.
It has year to date. That's what we've done. We actually budgeted 1.2 million.
That we were going to move. But that's strictly our sales tax, correct?
Yes.
So there's no other.
That was from our sales tax.
So the deficit that we'll have, the proposed deficit from the sale of the bank building, you will have to pay for that out of the B&O tax?
Well,
Sales tax.
We out sales tax.
And then we have to pay the 179,000 out of the sales tax also
Sidewalk.
for the sidewalks.
Yes. But that, I imagine, will be at least a year down that we should have another sales tax. That will be into a new year with seasons.
The 250,000 that you transferred in your email, you stated that we would recoup that possibly January, February at the B&O tax collection.
Are we taking in any consideration, like with the B and O tax? It wasn't changed. I think you left it at the 1.960. 1.960. Okay, so we know that we've not really had any new business. There's more businesses closing. So at this point, with the unknown of Big Lots and other businesses, our B and O tax may not even reach the 1 point.
But
But I
it's
would,
also, the sales tax also, picks up like internet sales. It's not strictly from brick and mortar
Right.
stores within Oak Hill.
We also haven't received all the 1.2 million is just a guess on the 1%. Do we have any idea what we got for the first 6 months?
got about 600,000. And we haven't got one in July, and one in October, so we haven't gotten the one in December yet. We should be getting that. It usually comes up around the 20th.
And is that not the best quarter?
Should be, well, actually, it won't include December,
Oh, okay.
so we won't see December. It's off a month.
Okay.
So it would have been September, October. So what we would get in March would increase.
Okay.
But it has been going up. Our sales tax has been.
Any other questions?
Just, I mean, we're not using the rate.
Well, our rainy day fund, we used to have a rainy day fund and a sales tax fund. But we had to use our rainy day fund. We'd have to have a lot more income or a lot less expenses to have any extra.
It looks like a lot of, we know that expenses are going up, but our revenue is not. Our revenue, I think, is continues to shrink.
Some of the revenues are going up that, our utility tax and property tax has gone up some. Our hotel motel
And the 1% sales tax.
and a sales tax, and that's not on this budget because we have that in a separate fund.
At this point, we don't know how much more of the sales tax we may have to take to cover general funding. That's not. For business, January and February could be some of the slowest months. So.
And our expenses are higher in January.
Further questions?
We're not looking to accept anything here, are we? Is
This revision has to be approved.
that what we're looking to do tonight? Probably do a budget workshop.
We need to do a budget workshop for the actual next year's budget. This is for this year's budget. So some of the expenditures need revised so that we will not be guilty of spending money that we do not have.
we were doing a workshop before we accepted this. I'm sorry.
This is a mid-year budget.
I didn't know if where there's changes, I didn't know if we talked to more than what we're doing now.
You don't have to revise it now. You can.
But the only suggested changes would just be what you're saying. Like,
The ones that have the totals that are high. It's $174,000 in revenues and $174,000 in expenses.
Ask what the federal, can you back that up just a touch there? A little more.
Federal government grants.
Yeah, I got a federal government grants. Right there, I see 136,000 at the end there. What's that for?
That's what the new total would be if we add 75,000. Like I said, most of that is money that we received from the drug task force grant. So that covers their overtime. 2 officers, it covers their overtime. Now this year, it is a little bit more because we've got money. Excuse me. We got money back from the design on the King Street sidewalks. So we had almost 75,000 was the amount, and we got part of that back. We got some money back on a sidewalk project. So we have a couple things in there other than that drug task force.
But now, is the opioid money still in here too?
That is not in this budget either.
It's not. How much is left in that, if I can ask?
Well, I think it was right at 200,000. And you all spent 60,000.
75.
$75 here.
We have only spent about 60 of what you approved last month.
Okay.
So that leaves us about,
And right now, that's about what I plan on spending.
so there's 125, let's say, left in that account. Is that money, I mean, because we had talked about that before. That 125 could actually reimburse us for jail fees and police officer overtime and stuff like that, right?
From what I understand, that it could do that. I don't know if anyone's done that. Do you?
Well, I'm not sure. A lot of places haven't. The last I checked, and it's been several months ago, haven't even began to say how they're going to spend it. I don't know what they're waiting.
Drug test.
No further questions. May we have a motion to accept this mid-year budget revision?
I move to accept the mid-year budget revision.
We have a second, please. We have a motion moving to accept the mid-year budget revision. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed? Was it just, Tim, did you vote?
Yes, I said,
Oh, okay. Only one day? Okay. The motion is carried. Thank you very much. Somehow, somebody put a line through the next one. I don't know if I can figure that out. Number 9, city manager retirement and succession planning.
As most of you know, recently, there have been significant changes in my family life that require more of my time and attention. These changes have motivated me to step away from my professional role as city manager as I focus on my loved ones and the opportunities that lie ahead for them. Tonight, I am formally announcing my retirement from the city of Oak Hill effective August 29th, 2025. It's been an incredible 27 years of service, and I'm deeply grateful for the experience, opportunities, and friendships that I've gained during my time here. Through the years, I've had the privilege of working with remarkable colleagues and being part of many milestones that shaped both my personal and professional growth. Although I'm retiring, please know that I am committed to continuing to provide guidance and support during this transition period. I will do everything I can to ensure a smooth handover of my responsibilities and just as my colleagues in any way that is needed. It's been an honor to mentor and collaborate with so many talented individuals, and I hope to continue sharing my knowledge and expertise in whatever capacity I can moving forward. Thank you for the support and encouragement during your time in office. I have truly enjoyed being part of this community.
We thank you. We have a bit of time left, so. Thank you very much, Demita. Thank you all for being here tonight. Our department reports, if we may have a motion to accept all the department reports up to MS4. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
All right. All those in favor to accept all department reports up to MS4, please say aye. All those opposed? Thank you. Do we have an MS4 report tonight?
I do. This is a winter MS4 announcement or okay, so help keep our waterways clean this snowy season by following these tips. Clear snow and ice away from storm drains. Shovel snow and ice off the storm drains in your neighborhood to prevent blockages and reduce flooding when the snow melts. Use de-icers sparingly. Excess salt and chemicals can wash into storm drains, harming aquatic life. Use only the amount needed or opt for eco-friendly de-icing products. Avoid plying snow into drainage areas. When cleaning driveways or sidewalks, make sure not to pile snow where it can block stormwater flow or drains. Dispose of snow melt runoff safely. If snow contains pollutants like oils or chemicals, try to direct melt water to grassy or gravel areas where it can naturally filter into the ground. Prevent litter and debris from entering drains. Be mindful of garbage and debris in your yard, driveway, or street. These can end up in the storm drains with melting snow.
Well, that's more of a public service announcement, so I don't think we need to go on that. We're good on that one. Any council comments, folks? Any other comments?
Yeah, I was wanting to ask Demita, where are we at with invoking the vacant building registry? I know whenever we started this, you told me give you, a couple of months, and We're getting into February now. I was wondering if we could post this in February.
Um, probably not yet. Valerie is working on, she's working with Gretchen to train her. And she and Tyler need to sit down and talk about coming up with a way that we're gonna do that. I will use the NAS to notify people, get their responses back, get notify people.
Well, I mean, because right now, I was noticing in the report there that we've only collected $200 for vacant building registry in the past 6 months. It's not the revenue that we're looking for, but it is something that would help us in certain areas. Do you have a target date that you are looking at?
Maybe by the beginning of the new year. I don't even know. I don't know how long it's going to take to do this. We just don't have a system to do it. We've never had a real good one.
We've been almost a year, now it's gonna be a year and a half trying to get this vacant building registry posed. But I know that PJ and I are gonna meet with Tyler on Monday about some of that for the vacant building registry too, so maybe with our help, we might be able to help push this a little faster than the first of the year, but we'll.
I'd like to give a shout out to the road crew, road who done a good job so far as speaking to someone first. Another.
Yeah, did a great job. Anyone else?
Yeah, man. I don't want this to come off as how I'm gonna say it, but I mean, I just feel we've been in the office for 18 months. I mean, other than Diane. It's just very slow. Everything is so slow to get done. And I don't feel like it's, every time I've said something, I've been told it takes time. But I think that we're making it take time. And as someone that was elected to, all of us in this room said we was going to do things different. And that's why I work at McDonald's. I'm not supposed to be here. We're different people in here. We were all elected to do something, and I feel like we have dragged our feet. That's all I'm going to say. For 18 months, we have dragged our feet. We have got very little done. And the citizens see it. It's not basic.
It is slow. Government is slow. And I don't think anybody here is going to say anything different or disagree with that. But an example is the lighting on the White Oak Rail Trail. Okay, it's a good project, expensive project. That started not the last term of council, but the term before. Is when that initiated. It just got done during this term of council. It does take time. The Virginia Street Sidewalk project began in December of 2008. It's a lot of our funding, a lot of our projects depend upon other agencies, and it is slow. I'm glad to see the Virginia Street project during this term of council seem like it's going to go out to bid this spring or early summer.
But it got resurrected again in 22. Maybe a little bit before that, so people weren't just design.
Yeah, it was completely redone in 2012 as well. after 2008. It is slow. That, it probably always will be. But there's been a lot of drainage projects. There's been a lot of, we've made a ton of streets. There's been a ton of effort at Needles Eye Park, which is a wonderful municipal park. It's a large park, 300 acres, that will make a difference to the city of Ocala. Very expensive. It's been ongoing since 2016.
That's something that other than the trails, you don't have separate revenue streams. So the grant covers the work on the trails, the bike trails are one end, but everything else.
You're also I hope I can interject, but you're also responsible for 30-some cameras throughout the town so far in your administration. That is more than any surrounding community. 30-some more to go up. That benefits. I wish we had them in my neighborhood. It's very progressive, in my opinion, that you all committed that money, allowed us to spend it to do that, and I appreciate it. And I'm sure that the citizens, I know the businesses do a great response from the businesses. They see it. They're all more than willing to let us hook up to their internet. They love it. I think things like that go unseen, but it's there.
Just takes long time.
This could be very frustrating. I get what Bill's saying too. I mean, I'm not saying we haven't did anything. I mean, I get like there's grants. I mean, there's a lot of things that hold up stuff. And I think that's a lot of people don't realize that.
Right.
You know, I mean, 2 years ago, I'm sitting on the couch watching this thinking, man, it's taking forever to do everything. But then, when you're involved, I understand there's a lot of funding and things that take this. I wish it was as simple as let's do this, let's do that, let's do that. Oh, it's done tomorrow.
Working with the state.
Absolutely. Hold up after hold. I think what my comment is I would like to see what we can do at maybe a lower level that doesn't require large construction or whatever. Like, what else can we do as a council to get business here? What else can we do to come up with some ideas, maybe to attract businesses here? Like, what on our end, what can we do more that we're not doing now?
Yes, I agree with PJ. I like to see people walking the streets. I like to see kids in the streets. I like to see the buildings decent.
Yeah.
That's what people, when they're coming in from North Carolina or somewhere else, they see this is pretty good up in town. I go a lot of places. Me and my wife love to travel. I take pictures of not just Lewisburg, a lot of places we go to town. Think, good grief, look how nice this is. They got benches in different places where if I walk down the street with my uncle or whatever, if they want to sit down, they're 80-some years old, while me and my grandkid shop a little bit or something, they got a place to sit. Now, I would like to see that in Oak Hill one day. My goal. I loved it when I was a kid coming to Oak Hill, and I would like to see it eventually. Some way we can help it. It'll take time, like we said, but I'd like to see that also, like PJ said, some way or another. Get the woods off the buildings. Let's get them cleaned up. I got many, many pictures. I go by every day and take pictures of trash in different areas, by the food land and dumpsters and trash in the ground, trash in front of different buildings out there where they were doing a remodel. They just threw it out on the sidewalk. When I clean my house, I don't just throw it out in the yard. I put it in a trash bag. I would like to see Oak Hill have some type of rules. Hey, let's get this up. I don't know. I like to see a nice, family friendly for kids and families to walk to town. And once again, that's my goal.
You know, on our agenda, we've had a lot of ordinance changes here recently. We've had several tonight, but I mean, we're full of ordinances. We have tons already that we don't follow or enforce. And here we are just adding more. I mean, let's start enforcing our ordinances. If we're gonna add more to it, let's enforce the ones we have also. It can't just be, we're gonna add a new camping ordinance or this or that, and then we enforce that because it's fresh. There's tons of ordinances that covers, I'm sure, grass growing up sidewalks and all kinds of stuff that I don't think that we enforce. There was a post on social media with a reminder to shovel your sidewalks or whatever, and it had a lot of backlash because it listed an ordinance. So that's not my sidewalk. Why would I take care of it? Well, we have tons of them that people are not even aware of. Maybe, I don't know how you make people more aware of ordinances. I mean, who wants to hear that? But if there's rules that need to be followed, and maybe we try to make public more aware of them and then try to enforce them. And like Roger's saying, make the town look nice.
Yeah.
I mean, take care of what we do have. We don't have a ton, but what we do, we need to shine up. Be proud of it.
Absolutely.
Two places that I get spoken to a lot is Betsy's and Steam Hill.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Every week.
Absolutely, yes.
In touch with the.
Is there an ordinance that covers boards on windows? I mean, it looks like the town's closed in downtown, like in the buildings around that, because you have boards covered up. To me, that means we're shut down. This area's closed. Like, is there not something that covers that?
No, but I had somebody come and paint that one on the Betsy's building, but it has not come through yet.
Surely bad.
Do they not have insurance? Like if something just broke in my house, does them buildings have to have insurance to cover, put new windows in after a certain amount of time? I mean, that's my thought.
So we don't have an ordinance that covers that right now? I mean, if we're adding all these ordinances like we've been doing, then I add
Says
next
you
month.
can't have a,
Yeah, fix your stuff up. That looks bad.
As far as the Steve Miller building goes, Four Seasons Building's trying to actually get them on. They like to bring their business here, so they were supposed to be here tonight to talk. I'm not sure, but they are
I
working.
can't drive right now, but we can get them.
They are working with Ben to try to get that straightened out. Ben's also working. About the buildings. And you talk about time. I waited 2 years. And that's why I'm in this seat now. I got flooded twice. Hey, we got the money. It took 2 years to build a retaining pond.
Absolutely.
What did it take? A couple of days to go out and dig it out?
Yeah.
But hey, it does take a lot of time. And I think when you spend your first year cleaning up somebody else's mess, we still have that stigma and we had nothing to do with it, but.
I think like probably most people that led us to be here was because of the bank building. I mean, I think when I was sitting at the house watching this thinking, I want to be involved. I mean, that definitely started it. I mean, look at this nonsense that's happening. I can get up there and do better or be a voice to be better. And I think for all seven of us in the mayor and to be just committed to we want the best in this town, I would just like for it to start showing that some of the things we are getting some things done. I don't want to be that council that you raise the sewer bill and we sold the bank building. I like to see some more happen because we're really good people.
What about the status of the old Collins High School?
I ran into, Michael Taylor in Charleston at a birthday party. And he said he would call me, that he'd been talking with the VMI. They were trying to give him a little bit of a runaround, and I look for him to call this week.
Well, have we done, I mean, I know I've looked into ordinance. I mean, I've looked in the ordinances about the B&O tax for new business to come to the city, if it's a new build or if it's something that is not the same as what we have, you're giving them a 5-year tax break, a B&O tax break. But evidently that tax break that we're trying to do right there is not helping because we're still losing. We still got 70 some buildings here that are empty in the city. Have we thought about maybe doing a 2-year incentive to get somebody in by dropping B&O tax on your first year, dropping it 75%? Because this B&O tax, I sat down and pulled, did you check the numbers for us for big lots? B&O tax for that building for 1 year was $8,000. So I sat down, kind of did the math. So you're looking at about a $2.4 million business. So at $2.4 million, you got $24,000 worth of sales tax. B&O is not really helping us right now, but if we could give an incentive to bring some more business in here and cut it for, and have it grow each year by 25%, 4 years, in 4 years time, you're back up to 100%. But we brought more business in because we're helping them to try to get established. 5 years with a business that is not here, that we don't have in the city, I understand that. But right now, I don't care if we was going to put another big McDonald's out there. If I can give them a 75% tax break for the first year to come here and you bring me more sales tax, hey, I'm all for that. So I'm thinking that maybe that might be something else we need to try to do.
We have some zero for 5 years.
But it has to be, according to the ordinance, it has to be a new build, or it has to be a business that is not in competition with any other business here.
Right. And I detest taxes. We'll do. It's necessary evil.
It is. I mean, I agree.
And the only thing that I detest more than a tax is an unfair tax. And I think it would be pretty difficult if I was a business owner in direct competition with someone established in business in Oak Hill, if I had a favorable tax bracket compared to a business that was here for 10 years or 50 years. And that is why a non-competing business does get a tax advantage if they're non-competing. But it's hard to explain if you have, I'm not going to name a business. I don't want to draw attention to a business in Oak Hill, but if you had someone that's in direct competition and you give them a tax break, how do you explain that to somebody that has the same struggles, but has just been in business here already? Now, I do agree with, and I like to point it out because a lot of people don't realize it or don't want to realize it. The city of Oak Hill has about 22% less B&O charge than the state allows, and that many other municipalities have. It is cheaper for everybody. And that's and one of the things about it, B&O tax is it's not real expensive. It's not a huge overhead concern for most businesses. It's not real expensive, and it generally does not make or break a business. I appreciate the B&O revenue that we get and hopefully do good things with and improve the community with, but it's not a deal breaker. Things like location and highways and things like that are much more concerning to most businesses than the amount of money they pay in B&O tax. And there was a study done. I actually was commissioned by the Fayette County commission several years ago concerning Wolf Creek Park and whether it was an advantage to be annexed by the city of Oak Hill or not to be annexed to the city of Oak Hill, because the study cost $29,000 by Parsons Brinckerhoff. And it went into detail and said that the business community expects to pay a fair amount of taxes in the form of B&O taxes for a fair amount of services and infrastructure and those things. And so I don't think we're overpriced. Well, for one thing, the state's not going to let us be overpriced on B&O tax, but we're below their limit. And even more.
Well, I understand that. I mean, I've looked at the B&O tax in Fayetteville, B&O tax in Beckley. I mean, I know that we are about 22% below.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying, in the 5-year incentive that we have, 5 years of no tax, I greatly, I mean, I appreciate that B&O. Let me ask you this question. Let's say that a steakhouse decides it's going to go out here, Shoney's. It's a restaurant, right or wrong? It's not a steakhouse here in the the city of Oak Hill. Still considered a restaurant. That company get 5 years off?
I don't think so, because it's a restaurant. But
Restaurant.
my statement about that is that the amount of B&O tax that they pay is going to be way down on their list of priorities of concerns.
I understand that.
Yeah.
I mean, but what I'm saying is, I just think that there are other incentives that we can do to try to bring other business here. Right now, I mean, I've sat down and even before I was in council, even 4 years ago, I've watched more businesses leave this city than what have came in. Only businesses that I know that has came in here within the last 6 months, maybe a year, is you got the new barbershop down here. Got E-Puffs that went in, I think they went in actually year before last. You have Sam's, but all he did was just move from one place to another. You have the Tumbler place. You have Mike Wisman's new place. And you have the soap place. And you have the new gym of Steve Neal's. That's the only new ones that I've seen come in over 2 years.
There's a few others, and you know, unfortunately, business will always come and go.
Oh, and I understand.
Yeah.
Garage place out Fayette Square, garage door place. There's a nutrition center. There's Anytime Fitness. There's a lot of.
Well, Anytime Fitness and them has been there for that's 3 years.
Amanda Beats.
Yeah, I forgot about Amanda Bees.
Gaines Insurance is in there. Well, go ahead.
You turn my mic off here in a minute. So, I mean, I understand, you know, what we're saying here, but I think the whole idea of why Terry's even saying that, and I get what you're saying, Bill. So we need business. I mean, we gotta bring business to.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it's obvious that our revenue is not increasing. It's slowly decreasing. And, I don't know how we do that or what's the next step. But I would surely like to, because I've heard it from years that, you know, Oak Hill's shrinking. I would like to be that council that maybe comes up with, what can we do? I mean, what do we do? I mean, maybe it's not an incentive. Maybe it's a New River Network video promotion, or I don't know. I mean, maybe it's social media. We just have to do something. What I'd like to see. We have lots of empty buildings to put them in. Like to see. Right. Lots of problems.
Well, since you mentioned New River Network, the JV girls are in a barn burner. They're in overtime right now. I believe Oak Hill's playing South Charleston. So if you are watching on the New River Network, please stay tuned soon as we wrap it up here, the game will be on. Any future agenda items?
Future agenda item, an ordinance against boards on windows.
Anyone else?
I will motion and second that also. Just a rule, no ordinance, just a rule that says you're not putting boards on windows for a year. I mean, I would like to look at it if there's nothing currently. I mean, we need to try to make the city look as best as we can. You know, a lot of the buildings, like me is saying that they're not going to meet code. Somebody owns them.
Yeah.
I mean, can we not pressure wash them? There's
That's
clean the windows, sweep the parking lot.
need to talk to.
That's for.
I know you have for a good while. I mean,
Well, I mean, is there not no way that we can help these business owners, the people that own these businesses that you're saying that aren't up to code? Is there not no way that we can help them to get a grant to fix it, to bring it up to code? I mean, there are some businesses here in the city that are up to code that we can't fill them.
The announcements? Anything else?
Mayor, I have something.
Yes, sir.
I'd like to make it part of the record of the minutes tonight that this last week, we lost a firefighter by the name of James Fox, 85 years old, served the city of Oak Hill in the fire department for 64 years, since 1961. Came out of the military at 22 years old, and served on this fire department until this week. So I'd like to make that part of the minutes and recognize the fact of his service and his time that he gave the city. He enjoyed every minute of it, and I wish we had more people dedicated and want to serve in the community spirit like he did. I'd just like to make that part of the record. Thank you.
All right, our next council meeting will be February 10th. If all minds are clear, I'm going to go ahead and adjourn. We can call it a night.
Did you all want on the next agenda about the charter? Did you want to change
Oh,
the charter or whatever?
Bill, how was, yes, I had an idea. I would like to put that on the agenda for the next one. That we rephrase the charter where it will give a city manager, if he has to live within the city, it will give him 180 days in order to find a place here to live. And I would also like to add that to where it goes outside the city limits, 2-mile radius. Okay. If we can get it to where you have the 2-mile radius, then we don't have to worry about the 180 days moving into the city. I am. If we put them both in there, there's really no, it's either or, right, Bill? Can that be phrased that way?
Either or,
Yes.
I don't know.
You could say that the city manager has to live within the city limits or within a 2-mile radius of the city limits within 180 days of his hire date.
And that would actually back from outside the city limits for people that want to apply.
I think so, and I don't know if anybody will object to that or not. I know.
All they can do is shoot it, tell us no. I mean,
Right, you could do it in 2 separate amendments so that somebody could object to one. Because I think there are reasons people would object to the 2-mile the 2 mile rule for the city manager that may not object to giving them 180 days to move into the city. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
So that they could object to, they could pick and choose which one they wanted to object to. And hopefully
Okay, well,
not,
then how do we do that?
just to propose 2 amendments to the same section. of the
Those 2 amendments.
Yep. And I agree with you. I'm just, I think if you make one amendment too broad, it's more likely to be objected to.
So if we make 2 amendments, one may actually pass.
Right, somebody might not object to both of them.
All right. So that's what do we need to make that now? Or we need to make it at the next meeting.
The next meeting.
I'll put it on the agenda.
Okay.
Yep.
There's 2 miles. What does 2 miles give us? I mean.
That actually takes you down into Scarborough. I think it takes you down towards, Riston. Air miles. 2 air miles.
That's specified.
Or, yeah, from City Hall, 2 mile radius.
From the city, from.
From city limit line,
2 miles
2
from.
mile air, 2 air mile
With
radius.
our most. Yeah, 2 miles from the city limits.
Yeah, from the perimeter of.
From the perimeter of the city limits, 2 miles.
It's like you said, if they're already established, they on place or they live in the same home place,
Yeah.
right, that's pretty tough.
It is.
But if their heart is in their desire to serve the city of Hill, you shouldn't have such a tough boundary that we.
2 miles take us to Fayetteville
No, it is 7 miles from here to.
from our outer city limits. 2 miles would get us to Fayetteville.
About 200 foot.
So say the city limits border.
Yeah, city limits actually borders
They do, don't they?
Fayetteville city limits, but it doesn't put us
Your
in.
address would just, and it was your address would have to be 2 miles of that border. So they, because they do border, I didn't even think of that.
We're right up against Fayetteville.
Do you think we're limiting ourselves though, honestly?
Well,
I
we
mean,
tried to go
you get a
big.
scholar,
And we got sent
You know,
home.
you get somebody that's great. And then what, you know, they're
So-
going back to you.
You know, I was always like this, if you ain't go big, try to go small and get a little bit, you know, a little nibble sometimes actually helps instead of trying to go for the whole fish.
What does 5 miles get us?
5 miles will actually put
Is that-
you in the city of Fayetteville.
I could do a buffer on that and show it at the next council.
Yeah, it is.
They want to see 2 miles,
2
2
and
and
5.
2 and 5.
2 by 10. I don't know.
We can't go 10 because then you're gonna get back into Fayette County and
10 we're
we've been voted no on that.
2 and 5.
Can I offer a little bit of
Yes, sir.
what our fire department did a number of years ago? Our guidelines stated that you had to live in the city of Oak Hill itself. Well, people were buying homes in different locations that might have been shortly outside of city limits or a distance. So we opened up our guidelines to where you could live as much as 3 miles outside the city limits of Oak Hill, but our percentages had to be 60% had to live in Oak Hill and 40% could meet that criteria. So we did that a long time ago. I think you're on the right track. Don't nail yourself down because I think it's going to make the variety of person you might be bringing in for your city manager.
That's why I want to open it up just a little. And I was kind of really tickled with the full Fayette County deal, but, you know, that got shot in the foot real quick.
Well, we definitely have to take in consideration that the market is for houses is very thin.
It is.
And what isn't thin is very pricey. So, I mean, I think the 2 or 5 miles, whatever, I think that gives a bigger variety and a chance of the city manager being able to hopefully already be in that house now and not have to move.
I agree with that. That's the reason why, I mean, on the right track. He was on a great track, but had to take a different track.
All righty.
All right, I'm gonna shut up after this.
Congratulations, by the way, to the JV girls. They win 51-48.
Nice.
All right, about 10 more minutes and the varsity team will be up.
Mayor, last comment. Turn my mic off, Tyler. Start my car. So the last agenda item said city manager retirement and succession planning. So obviously, I think on the next agenda, we need succession planning. What does that look like? What is our time frame to post this job? We want enough time to make sure that we do get the best candidate and that it's not a rush thing and that this person can come in and, maybe spend a couple months with Demita. I don't know how that would work.
If you read my email, that's what we're gonna do in the.
Is that part of the workshop? I didn't see that part. I did read your email, but I did not see that part.
That's okay.
I must have read it too quick.
Okay, so we're having a workshop on January 23rd.
Yeah, I can't make it no earlier than 6 o'clock.
Next Thursday.
Next Thursday.
Okay, so when do you want to have a budget workshop?
You're gonna do them both together?
I would have had, no, because Gretchen. I had a nice calendar up there, but Tim took it, so I can't. Thanks. And get my phone.
You guys want to set that now? You want to go to adjourn?
It's okay.
Thank you all for coming tonight. Thank you all for watching at home. We are going to adjourn. Have a good night, everyone.
So.
January.
6.